Do you remember that incident? Okay. And then about 9 days later, on February the 19th, you were arrested for a damage to property. You remember that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then in July of 2000, July the 6th, you were arrested for fighting. Do you remember that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What about 2001? You had another disturbing of peace, but let's go ahead to March 21st of 2001. You had an aggravated assault, and that time you had a gun. Remember that?
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't never charged with that. The girl said I had a gun, but I never had no gun.
But you had a confrontation with a young woman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, how about January the 19th of 2003? You had an aggravated battery.
I don't recall it.
You don't recall being arrested for an aggravated battery?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then in October of 2003, you had another damage to property.
I don't know about you, but I missed, sorry, Miss Jackson. We're going to watch the parole hearing and unpack it with all the details at the end, including an interview that was taken up for when she was first incarcerated. With that, let's jump in.
So your TASHA Lister, DOC number is 573530. You're seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in September 2010 in Washita Parish to 28 years for a manslaughter conviction. Ms. Lister, is that information for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jackson.
Good morning, Ms. Lister. My name is Bonnie Jackson, and I'll start the questioning off this morning. How old are you?
I'm 42 years old.
And how long have you been incarcerated on this charge?
14 years.
And you actually received a 28-year sentence for manslaughter, and so you served about half of that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's go back to 2008. This offense occurred. How old were you then?
I was 27 years old.
Were you employed?
No, ma'am.
Had you, what was your work history like back then?
I have temporary jobs, but mostly I'm just self-employed.
On what?
I had a few jobs like working for Service Masters and Church's Chicken.
Okay, well, that's not self-employed. You were working for companies.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any children?
I have 4.
And how old were your children back in 2008?
11, 10, 7, and going on 5 months old.
Who were you living with at that time?
My grandmother.
How far had you gone in school?
10th grade.
And what happened in the 10th grade? What caused you to discontinue school?
Could you repeat yourself, please?
Why did you stop going to school in the 10th grade?
It was family problem at home, with my parents, my grandmother and them was drinking and stuff like that, drugging. And it was just like, I wasn't getting the help that I needed at home. And I just fell to the streets and running. I had no support.
Or would it surprise you to hear that your grandmother said that you just wanted to be grown and you didn't want to do what you needed to do, so you chose to drop out of school? That seems to be an accurate statement.
Ma'am, could you
Your
repeat?
grandmother said you dropped out because you thought you were grown and you just wanted to do what you wanted to do.
I did think I did act grown. I mean, I ain't have no support. I ain't have the help that I needed out there. I come from an abusive family.
Have you, had, at that time, had you ever been diagnosed with or treated for any kind of mental health problem?
They had put me in this place called Wooden Hills because I kept running away from home.
I'm sorry, where did they put you?
In this place called Wooden Hills.
And how long, when did that happen and how did that happen?
There was like, I was 14 years old. My best friend had just got killed and they said I needed some help. So they put me in this place. This man named Floyd Gray put me in there.
And how long did you stay there?
I stayed there for some months and until they caught him for DWI and they let all the people that he put in there go, send us home.
I'm confused, but I don't quite understand what that had to do with.
Everybody that he put in the place in Wooden Hills. Ma'am? The thing
What
is,
thing are you talking about?
ma'am? Okay.
Are you having trouble hearing us?
Yes, ma'am.
I said, who is the he that you're talking about?
His name Floyd Gray.
Well, who is it?
He was a pretrial man, that was for people, juvenile that was always getting in trouble.
Okay, and were you one of those juveniles who was always getting in trouble?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let's talk about what happened on February the 4th of 2008. Who was the victim in this case? What was her name?
Jessica Williams.
Jessica?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know Jessica?
We grew up together.
All right, and was she your same age?
No, ma'am.
Who was older?
I was
How old was Jessica?
in her early 20s, 21 or 22.
So you were 5 or 6 years older than she was, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did this incident take place?
On Adams Street.
Oh, in somebody's house?
Yes, ma'am.
Whose house?
Rosetta Pyle,
And who is Rosetta Pyle?
a friend of ours, me and Jessica's.
Okay, so tell us what happened on that day.
I was out drinking and drugging, should have been at home. And I got my nephew-in-law got a phone call and she was on the phone and she was saying what she was gonna do. And I told her, give me 30 minutes.
Whoa. You just got through saying that you and Jessica were friends, correct?
We was.
Why would she want to do anything?
Me and her had got into it.
About what?
Just normal normal mess that people normally have in the hood.
And did you actually speak to her or did somebody else just tell you what she supposedly said?
I heard her on the phone.
What did she say?
She said when she see me, she was gonna punch me, and I told her give me 30 minutes, and I was on my way.
And you were on your way where?
What she was.
So you left where you were and you went where she was. That's correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Why that?
No,
Why did
one thing, and I was in my own drugs, in my own mess. It don't explain for what I did. It was senseless.
so when you got, and where did you actually go? When you got the phone call, where did you go next?
I went back on Adams Street.
Okay, and was she there?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened?
I seen her in a truck and I had a stick and I busted the window. I told her to get her scary self out the truck.
All right, so you had a stick and you busted the window of the vehicle that she was in, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened next?
After the stick broke, it had fell on, I threw it on the ground. My nephew-in-law now was arguing behind me. I jacked the gun. They had told him chill out, she was scary. And they told me to watch out,
You're talking a little fast, so that's why I'm having to stop you, okay? So after the stick broke, what happened?
I threw the stick down on the ground.
And then what happened?
My nephew-in-law and my co-defendant was arguing. And my co-defendant had a gun in his hand. I jacked the gun out of my co-defendant hanging. And they told me to watch out, she was finna hit me with the stick.
What did you do?
I balled up and the gun went off.
How many times?
It went off one time.
How many times did she shot?
One time, ma'am.
And it was in her neck,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? She didn't have anything other than a stick, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But you shot her.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is a little bit different than what you said in your application. You said in your application that someone gave you the gun and told you that the gun wasn't loaded.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
now knowledge that you actually took the gun from the person and you knew that it was loaded.
When I got the gun, when I took the gun from it, it wasn't that, and I'm not trying to justify nothing. I did take the gun from my co-defendant and the gun went off and the gun shot her.
Okay. And what did you do after that?
I told him to call the police. My co-defendant jacked the gun and took off running. After he took the gun, I knew if I stayed there, what would happen, so I ran too.
Left the scene.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you about, I looked at your criminal history, and there's some things on your criminal history that are concerning to me. It seems like a lot of your arrests involve acts of violence or damage to property. So I'm going to go over some of those incidents with you and ask you if you remember, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In 1997, you were arrested for assaulting someone with a knife. Do you remember that arrest?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Who was the victim in that case?
What's her name? Douglas, I think.
How did you know her?
Me and her got into it because she had took my little cousin's shoes I had bought.
Okay. On May 31st of 99, you were arrested for aggravated assault and damage to property. Remember that incident?
That was my son's father.
Okay, and what happened?
Me and him had got into it, and he had dropped me and the kids off, and I had called him and told him to bring my baby diaper bag, and he wouldn't let me in the house. He wouldn't even bring me the key, and I went over there and I busted the window.
Okay. In February of 2000, you had a disturbing the peace. Remember that?
Ma'am, you repeat yourself?
Yeah, February 10th of 2000, you got arrested for disturbing the peace. Do you remember that incident?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that about?
I was out in front of the house. I was out there. The music loud and stuff like that, drinking and drugging, and the police was called out.
Okay. And then about 9 days later, on February the 19th, you were arrested for a damage to property. Remember that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then in July of 2000, July the 6th, you were arrested for fighting. Do you remember that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What about 2001? You had another disturbing of peace, but let's go ahead to March 21st of 2001. You had an aggravated assault, and that time you had a gun. Remember that? This was on March the 21st of 2001. You were charged with aggravated assault, and it involved your having a gun. Do you remember that incident?
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't never charged with that. The girl said I had a gun, but I never had no gun.
But you had a confrontation with a young woman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, how about January the 19th of 2003? You had an aggravated battery.
I don't recall it.
You don't recall being arrested for an aggravated battery?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then in October of 2003, you had another damage to property.
That was in my own house though.
Well, what happened?
Me and my little girl daddy got into it, and he won't let me in the house.
Is that a different incident from the diaper bag?
Yes, ma'am. That was my son's father with the diaper bag.
And then this crime happened in 2008. And it looks like from 2003 to 2008, you didn't get arrested or anything. You might have got a summons, but you don't know if you were arrested. So, Ms. Lister, as I look at that history, you seem to be the common denominator, that you have a hard time getting along with people, you have a hard time dealing with anger, and you were acting out in anger quite a bit during that time. Do you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you give us an explanation for why you were arrested for all of these crimes? What was going on that you were constantly in this kind of trouble?
I was angry and hurt. I was angry. I can't even explain. I was just angry and hurt, and didn't have nobody to talk my problems to. And that's what it was. I was just angry and hurt person.
Well, let's talk about your alcohol and drug use. How old were you when you started drinking or doing drugs?
13 when I started drinking.
And what did you normally drink?
Beer, wine, coolers, whatever whatever they gave me.
Okay, and who is the they? Who gave a 13-year-old beer and wine cooler?
Friends.
Well, let's talk about your drug use. When did you start using drugs?
At 15.
And what kind of drugs did you start using at 15?
Weed and PCP.
All right. And what other drugs have you used?
Weed, PCP, XPs, and cocaine.
How often were you back in 2008? How often were you using drugs?
Every day.
And how were you getting the money to buy the drugs?
My friends, means that I used to talk to.
And so, you were a regular drug user from the time you were 15 until you got arrested in this case, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever go through any kind of drug treatment programs or anger management programs before you committed the crime that you're in jail for right now?
No, ma'am.
So let's move forward. I see that you had 23 write-ups been incarcerated. Does that sound about right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the last one I'm showing was in 2014.
16.
16, I'm sorry. Yeah, 14. And you have 14 disciplinary write-ups. And the last one was in 2016. And that was for an aggravated disobedience. What was that about?
I was angry when I got to prison. I was
When
angry
was- When did you get to prison?
2010.
Okay, this was 6 years later, 2016.
The aggravated disobedience, that was because I was up and the officer told me to go to bed, and it wasn't even past curfew, and I started talking back and she wrote me up.
Okay. So it's kind of like the same pattern. From when you were out, you kind of did what you wanted to do, and you were easily angered. It doesn't take much to make you angry, but it looks like. Have you taken any anger management programs since you've been incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about the anger management programs you've taken.
I have taken anger management, thinking for a change, MRT.
Okay, so I just want to talk about anger management.
Yes, ma'am.
What specific anger management program did you take?
Cage of Rage.
Do you remember what year you took Cage of Rage?
No, 2011.
Okay, are you sure it wasn't in 2020?
No, I think so. Let me see.
Cage Rage, but she also took anger management in 2020, but she took Cage the Rage in 2011.
Okay, so tell me what you learned in your anger management classes. What did it teach you about yourself and why you get angry all the time?
When I learned that I could talk my problems through now. I have people that I could talk to now, that understand me, that I don't have to hide how I feel.
Those are good things, but why do you think did you learn why you were so angry and why you were acting out the way that you were?
I never felt wanted in love, and I was looking for that.
Okay. All right. Tell me about the substance abuse programs you've taken.
I have took what's the name of the substance abuse class? Living in Balance and Celebrate Recovery.
Okay, let's talk about those two programs. What did you learn from those programs?
I don't need drugs to cover my pain.
Okay, well, that's a basic start. But what else did you learn?
And I really don't need drugs, period. My use of drugs was just to cover up how I felt. And it made me feel like I was loved, but when the high was gone, it was still there.
Well, so if you were to be released, well, how would you make sure you didn't start acting out in anger again, that you don't go back to using drugs? What is your plan not to repeat the same things that got you where you are today?
I got a support system. I'm going to a transitional house. I'm changing from where I'm going. I don't want to go back to Monroe. I got a sponsor. I've been going to NA and AA to help
And
me.
when did you start going to NA and AA?
Let me see. I can't, it's like 8 months ago, I think. To be
So this
exact.
fairly recently.
Yes, ma'am.
And how often do you go to NA or AA meetings?
Mondays and Sundays.
And what do you get out of that? What's been most beneficial for you?
Both of them, I get a lot out of both of them.
But it's the same class, but I mean, what do you get out of them?
I get out that using alcohol is just a way of covering up how you feel. Using drugs is a way of covering up how you feel. But at the end of the day, you still got to deal with reality of anything that you're going through in life. And I can honestly say, since I've been here, it has made me open my eyes to realize it's time for me to take responsibility of what I did.
Have you taken, do you have your GED?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you taken any kind of programs that would prepare you for a job if you were released?
Yes, ma'am. I'm enrolled in Ashland at the moment.
Okay, and what are you studying?
Business management.
Well, have you taken any kind of trade while you were incarcerated?
That's what Ashland is. Ashland is a trade.
Not a trade. Culinary arts is a trade. Horticulture is a trade. Things that you can immediately get out and start doing. You know, Ashland just gives you a degree in business management, but that's not really a trade.
That's a backlog. We on backlog for the rest of the classes.
Yeah, but you've been there now for 14 years.
I just recently just got my GED 2020.
Why did it take so long?
Well, I don't know. When I first got here, I didn't take it serious, but when I got back in there, I went in there because I knew I had to do what I had to do, like get my GED. You know, when people say that you couldn't do it, I put into my mind I can do it. I'm not a slow learner as people say I was.
You have a job at the prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Good job.
I work for the warden.
And what do you do for the warden?
Clean up.
All right. Any other jobs? Have you had any other prison jobs?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that? What was your one before?
I did recreation. I worked in the kitchen. I worked in the field, in the yard.
And how long have you worked for the warden?
Since 2017.
Are you involved in any kind of clubs or organizations? Do you do any kind of community service to help your fellow inmates? Tell us about other things that you're participating in.
I help on the yard. I go where just mainly wherever they need me at. I help anybody from the kitchen to the inner yard, to recreation. In the chapel, I go help in the chapel if they call me in there.
All right, but you don't belong to any kind of clubs or groups.
No, ma'am.
Where are your children?
3 of my kids grown. My baby, my 14-year-old, he stay with my aunt.
Okay. And do you have a relationship with your grown children?
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of, how do you have a relationship with them?
I talk to them. They come see me when they can. And I
Where,
write.
where do they live?
My oldest son stay in Dallas. My last 3 stay in Monroe.
But you see your plans are not to go back home. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So where would your support come from? You know, family support is essential to successful reentry.
My family, they willing to come to, I'm going to this transition house in exit 318 if I'm granted, and my family say I got to do what's best for me, and I think that's best for me to start a new start.
Well, but where is this transition place?
In Shreveport.
But a transition place is just that, it's a temporary situation, not permanent or long term. It's just temporary.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what do you plan to do as far as employment is concerned?
They help you find jobs there.
What can you do? You haven't learned any real trades since you've been in prison.
I can work at a fast food restaurant. I can go wherever they put me at. I can work.
Okay. Well, you know, that it's still hard to support yourself working at a fast food restaurant. You still get paid enough to do that. I don't know that you can pay rent for working at a fast food restaurant.
Yes, ma'am.
I take it you have no family in Shreveport?
No, ma'am.
You have opposition, Ms. Lister, you can't control that. But you do have an opposition from the DA and all law enforcement, as well as the victim's family, in this case.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you, since being incarcerated, have you been receiving any kind of mental health treatment?
Mental health treatment. Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that.
When I first got here, I couldn't sleep. And I was just going through it, and
You see a psychiatrist?
yes, ma'am.
And you see a psychiatrist on a regular basis?
No, ma'am.
When was the last time you saw a psychiatrist?
January.
Okay. And you're not prescribed any kind of medication?
No, ma'am.
Can I hear from the warden? Can you tell us anything about Ms. Lister?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, Miss Lister, had recently gotten her GED. She has completed reentry class. Her last write-up was in 2016. She does work up here in our administrative area as one of the orderlies up here and does a good job with us. I know you had a couple of questions about mental health. Her diagnosis was placed in remission, so they do routinely follow up with her, but she is not on any medications at this time.
And I see that her diagnosis was major depression. Is that the only mental health diagnosis she has?
Yes,
She
ma'am.
doesn't have
Yes.
bipolar or schizophrenia?
No, ma'am. It was just the major depressive disorder, and it's now placed in remission.
All right. Thank you very much, Warden.
Thank you.
Ms. Lister, tell me, you mentioned I think you listed some faith-based programs you took. What were some of those programs?
I have took, Celebrate Recovery, Living in Balance, Parenting, Thinking for a Change,
Those aren't necessarily church-based programs. Have you participated in any church-sponsored programs?
Celebrate Recovery,
Okay, but that's the only one.
and what's the name of the, Life Worth Healing, Life Healing Choices.
Okay, what you learned in that?
I learned so much, about myself going to that class, things that I didn't think, like my anger, what caused all that, and I'm healing from it, to be a better person. I think it's, I got family support, but I think it's time for me to try to find somewhere else, I'm healing.
How are you a different person today than the one in 2008?
2008, I wouldn't have never admitted I was wrong about nothing. I take full responsibility now. I mean, I'm rehabilitated now.
What do you think's been the biggest change in you?
My attitude and my way of thinking.
You wanna elaborate a little bit?
In my mind, I used to always say, "Well, hurt people," and I was so hurt. I took a life, and they can't bring her back. Excuse me.
If you could say something to your victim's family, what would you say?
I'm so sorry. I never mean to cause them this much pain. I never mean to cause them pain like I got them going through right now. Just knowing that I grew up with her, and for me to be the person that hurt her, it hurts me too. To know that I caused my hurt, and then she had children.
Ms. Lister, I appreciate your answering my questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Lister, I've been advised some of your family has joined us by Zoom, by phone. So we have with us Ms. Thelma Willis, your aunt, and April Lister, your niece, and Ms. Thelma would like to say something on your behalf. Ms. Thelma? Ms. Thelma, are you still with us by your phone, on your phone? Can you communicate with us? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We having a time with the Wi-Fi or something around here.
Well, we got it working now, so go ahead. We'd like to hear from you.
Okay, I like to say good afternoon, morning, and I'm sorry I'm late getting in the court with you all, but we had a time with the Wi-Fi or something around here, so I apologize for that. On behalf of Tasha, I want to say she is a very giving person. How she got wind up in all of these cases is because she really always tried to do good for her kids and for herself. She was getting with the wrong people, and whenever back in the day when you try to tell her something, she just thought she knew it all. She thought she tried to work it out for herself, and I could say for myself, and she don't remember it because I spoke with her about it over the phone. I said, you remember when I used to try to talk to you, all of y'all that's under me, and I would tell y'all, you don't do this, you don't do that. I was raised up by my grandmother and my uncles and aunties, and it was not no hard life, but to me, I thought they were being so doggone strict. But then I thank them for the way that they brought me up, and I tried to uh, tell it to the rest of the family from what I had experienced. And I like to share one thing with you, and that was when I was young, like Tasha, going to school. I was doing good in school. I really was. And then I got with the wrong people and started trying to do what they did. And I got off hand, and my report card was really bad. And I hid that report card. I didn't want none of my people to see that report card. And my uncle asked me, Gene, where your report card? I told the stupidest tale you ever want to hear. And that was the teacher said if I had paper on them, if any student had paper under their desk, they would not receive their report card. I'm not no good storyteller and never have been, but I knew that that didn't sound right to me. So I knew it wasn't going to sound right to my uncle. Anyway, he said, well, mama, which was his mother and my grandmother, well, she gonna come up to the school in the morning and see why they didn't give you your report card. I wanted all that evening, all the whole night, I wanted to go get that report card and give it to him because I knew I had a whooping coming. But I chose not to. I was saying maybe something will happen and she won't come. And all day that the class had went through and it was almost lunchtime. And a knock came up on the door. And I don't know if y'all ever seen Imitation of Life when that little child scooted down at her desk. That was me. Want to know who mama that is, whatever. But anyway, once she got in there, Miss Richardson said, hi, Miss Lister, how you doing? And mama said, I'm doing fine. She said, may I help you? She said, yes. I came up here to see Thelma's report card. Miss Richardson looked at me. She said, Thelma, I thought you said that they said it was all right. I couldn't say nothing. I was trembling. Anyway, my Miss Richardson said, Miss Thelma gave us her report card and said that you all said it was okay. And my grandmother said, well, she just lied. All those other students were looking at me, saying, messing around with me. And I was just sick that whole afternoon. When it all wound up, when I got home, my mother, my real mother, had never whipped me before in my whole entire life. She had 3 switches planted for me when I got home. She told my butt from one end of the other, I tell you. And she said, I'm not whipping you because, well, I'm going to say it like this. I'm whipping you for 2 reasons. It's to keep your ass out of jail. Excuse my talk. I mean, what I just cursed. This one is to keep your tail out of jail. The other one is to learn you not to tell a tale if you don't have to. My auntie didn't have this much hair. I was so glad she was there because she stopped my mom from tearing my behind up. And that was one lesson. Do not sign nobody's name on nobody, on nothing. If it ain't your name, don't sign it. And back with Tasha, I tried to explain to her how they used to discipline us. And I used to thought they were so hard and so strict. But I appreciate every whipping I got. And as for Tasha, I believe, I know for myself that she has a good heart in her. I know she do the right thing. She just had a hard time trying to deal with how to do what's right. And she always thought the way she was doing it was right. And I know she didn't mean to do whatever wrong that she did. I know she didn't do it, but she thought that was the right way. And she never.
So, can you wrap it up for us, man? We're running out of time.
Okay, I just want you to know we love Tasha. I know we're going to support her in any way, all the way that we can. I know I am. And her kids, I know we're going to do the best we can with her. We hate that she don't want to come back to Monroe, but she felt like she need to start trying to do something on her own besides, but if she need us, she was gonna let us know.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your remarks this morning. Ms. Lister,
Ma'am,
What's your thing?
you have a statement you want to make to the board?
No, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Is there something you want to say to the board?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to thank the board and ask for mercy on the board and just really just excuse me, ma'am. I take full responsibility of what I did, the pain I caused, and just seeing her Jessica mother in so much pain. Words can't even describe it, how much pain it is.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think your vote will start with Mrs. Jackson.
Mr. I'm glad to see that you're in the process of growing. I'm glad that some of those programs that you've taken helped you understand why you were so angry and why you lashed out at people. And I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that you've gone through some substance abuse programs because that also was part of the problem. And I think you have grown. I do. I think that you're not quite the person you were when this happened in 2008. But I believe that you have some more work to do. You didn't get your GED until 2020, and so that made you weren't eligible to take any kind of vocational classes until you got your GED. Now that you have your GED, you need to start working on some real viable job skills, some things that you can actually use to get a job. Because I can tell you right now, nobody can live on a fast food salary. It's not going to happen. And so you need to continue to work on getting some vocational skills that will help you when you do get released. Also, I think you need a better transition plan. You know, I do agree with your assessment that you shouldn't return to the Monroe area. Almost everybody in Zwolle is strongly opposed to your being released. And I just don't think that that would be a good environment for anyone, for you or for the family of the victim, for you to be back in that area. But you don't have a really strong transition plan. You don't have, someone who doesn't live in that area who could provide you with the kind of support that you need if you're going to transition successfully. And so today, my vote is not yet. You're not ready yet. You've got some more work to do. I'm encouraged to see that your disciplinary record has improved and it's turned around. I'm encouraged by the positive remarks from the warden, but I think there's a lot more work that you need to do. And I hope that you will take this not as a defeat, but as a challenge to keep working harder and to get some things in place that would make it easier for you to transition, because that's the goal, success, not just to let somebody out of jail, but to make sure that person has done enough work that we don't have to worry about them never having to come back. All right.
Yes.
So my vote today is to deny your request for commutation, but to encourage you to keep working. Don't let this be an excuse to get angry and act out. But you see it as a challenge to do better. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Richard.
Ms. Lester,
Sir.
I sit down here patiently and listen. You had a rough start in life. You started using drugs at 15, you started using alcohol at 13. Do you know what an ACEs score is?
No, sir.
That's a score that tells, and you filled it out. It tells you different negative things in your childhood that affected your criminality later on in life. There are a lot of negative things going on in your life, probably between the ages of 5 and 15, that caused your anger and caused you to have a criminal element, a violent element in your life. You've taken classes, you've got your GED, and because of that ACEs score, you scored a +8, which is very high. I'm going to give you an opportunity to take some vocational classes. And I think you can do that in the next 3.5 years. So my vote is to grant you parole eligibility after serving 65% of your sentence, which is approximately 18 years. You've already served 14.5 years, so you have 3.5 years to take additional programs and some vocational classes so that you will have a skill if and when you're released. That is my vote, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Mr. Marabella.
Ms. Lester, I've listened very intently to what you had to say. We need some more work. We do need some more vocational training. We've got high needs in substance abuse, high needs in education, high needs in employment. My vote today is likewise to deny, but to encourage you to continue to work. And once you're available, once you're eligible to reapply, to reapply. My vote today is to deny.
Mr. Marabella. Mr. Freeman.
My vote's also to deny. You have a long arrest record with a lot of violent history. And I think you just need to do a little bit more. I think you'll have a better shot next time, but I just can't see you being ready right now.
All right, Ms. Lister, I want to congratulate you. I was so excited to see that you did get your GED. And you said 2020, I think you might have got it in 2019. But congratulations on that. I'm pleased to see the work that you've begun to put forth to work on you. You realize you've got some work to do. For me, I didn't feel comfortable at all with what you've laid out for us that would be your transition plan, although I do agree your plan should be to move away from the Monroe area. My vote today is to deny based on the work that I believe you still need to do in the opposition that's been expressed here this morning. So today you've received one favorable vote, but you've received 4 votes to deny your application with encouragement to continue the work that you've begun and reapply when you're eligible to do so. We wish you well. Good luck.
That's fine.
Ward Thomas, I think that concludes our business at your facility. We're going to adjourn. It's 10:58 a.m. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for showing up.
Well, how do you feel about that outcome? You know, this hearing took place 2 years ago, and she is still incarcerated. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her sometime soon. we'll go over the court documents, but I thought it would be interesting to look over this interview that took place when she was first incarcerated. Thank you, Richard, for sharing it. And I'll include the link if you want to see there. She's in 3 different interviews, and this YouTuber, Juanita Binham, who's doing the interview. If you want to see her, I'll include the link in the description. Let's jump in.
Explain that. I mean, literally when the gun went off, what was the first thought that hit your mind?
What the had I done? And I looked out like, yeah, please call 911. My heart panicked. I couldn't believe my hands, a helping hand that helped so many people, could hurt somebody. And I seen all her family run out there. I knew if I'd have stayed, what had happened.
Well,
But
where were you? Were you at someone's house? Were you at a party?
I was at a card game.
You were at a card game.
I don't even get my, I had just got my income tax and got my son first check. Gave him $20 and sent him home. Got on the powder, the wet, the weed, the pills that they all brought to me. Alcohol, I went to the bathroom for a brief moment. Came back out, I didn't act myself. I was like, yeah, I started twitching. I said, yeah, I'm ready to go home. They told me I was tripping. I know I wasn't tripping. That was just a sign that I should have went home anyway.
Did you know her?
Yes.
So
I'm talking about,
was she a friend or?
Yes, she was. She was just like me, a person looking for love. And we found it in all the wrong places. When she couldn't talk to nobody, she came to me. When her mama put her out, she came to me. And that's the thing that really made me feel bad. And
Because you felt like you killed a friend.
yeah, I'm talking about, and folks will never understand that.
Wow.
And like I told the judge, if I had to do some time, God gonna walk me through it. Cause her life and my life should have been at home with our kids, but it lead us down the wrong path. Men looking, I'm talking about every young girl dream, trying to find love, run around the wrong friend that say that they mean us good. What are friends at now? They wasn't at their funeral home when she went. They hadn't came visit me now time since I went. Hadn't been in the courtroom. All thing they want to see is me gone. Look just like her.
Well, can I ask you this? What led to the argument? Was it something random? Was it something that had been
the first time,
ongoing?
She had slapped my little girl. My 7-year-old little girl. I went to her mom and told her mama about it. Her mama looked at me, drinking a beer, telling me to buy some wall pictures. That ain't what I'm coming to you about. I'm telling you about your daughter slapped my little girl. So I went and asked her like a woman, why did you slap my little girl? She told me she don't owe me no explanation. She hauled off and hit me in the club. They put both of us out. We left that alone. She pulled a knife on me in front of my son. Police came. I tried to explain. He told me to shut up. And she took off running in somebody's house. They wouldn't let her. They wouldn't let the police search. I left that alone. It's always like she tried to prove a point. She was hard, and I was always trying to prove a point. You ain't scaring me. And that scary look where it led her dead and me in jail, both of us away from our kids. Folks don't never understand what it means. See, they think just because we in jail, it's all right that we getting away with it, but nightmares after nightmares after nightmares, you toss and turn. I'm talking about, I can't sleep. I have a bite on my hand. They say let go and let God. I know God got it, cause I gave it to him. But I must have took it back because I tossed and turned every night. My life will never be the same. I'm talking about I seen friends get killed in front of me, but nothing like this right here, Miss Juanita. It was my doing this time.
Wow.
And I sit there and I look her mama in the face. I feel so bad, but I don't think she could look me in the face and say, you. I dropped my head to keep my composure, because 2 wrongs don't make a right. I came to jail February the 4th. They burnt our house down, could have killed 13 people.
Her family did?
Yes, ma'am. But I thank God I still have my family. And I know that's a hurt situation, like I told her mama. I know you hurt. I'm talking about like I told my grandma now. If her mama come in that courtroom and call us all kind of names, it's because she hurt. She hurt, and I'm talking about, my auntie said, well, I'm going in, you ain't going nowhere. If you got to come in the courtroom with that, I don't need you in there. I know her mama hurt, that's why it don't hurt me now time, because that's what I took her child. Knowing that she put her child out, I took her child life.
You know, on that note, her mother did come, the victim's mother did come and speak. I didn't include it because she spoke on the podium, and at this time the microphone and the podium wasn't working properly, so you couldn't hear anything she was saying, so I just removed that segment. But her mother is still hurting. Her mother is still in pain, as in the victim's mother. And it was the classic example too. It was right after you heard the supporter story about the homework, and I actually enjoyed that story. I enjoyed kind of like the Southern old school charm to it, saying like the hardcore. She was a good storyteller, I thought. You know, with the homework under, and then how she came home with the switch, but I had no idea what the relevance was to the hearing and how it had anything to do with anything. And it was, again, the classic like pie and like the sky rainbows and butterflies. And what are you talking about? Because then the mother came on, and it was you couldn't hear what she was saying, but you could see the pain. And, you know, this is interesting. And I thought we saw it in the hearing, and I thought we saw it in the interview, where she does seem to have authentic, genuine remorse. It's something that she does regret. She says she has nightmares about it. It's not like the common killings that we see where my little one just jumped on. It's summertime, so yeah, he just gave me a candy. He knows you're dirty. Gotta clean you up. Oh man. Wait. Go get me a baby wipe. Clean you up. Yeah. Uh-oh.
I'm not getting.
Okay. So, she does seem to have true remorse, and the board seems, and she had in the other interviews, if you want to see them, when she talks about it, she was prostituting at like 13 years old. I mean, she really had nothing. And the common theme that I saw from what she was saying in his interviews, and even now, is she just wants to feel loved. Just wants to feel loved. And the whole thing is tragic. So let's see to this court document thing that we're going to Richard. Here we go. So, no law shall subject crime occurred in Monroe, Louisiana. At the time of the shooting, the defendant was 27 years old and the victim was 20. Afterwards, she was 27. I mean, she wasn't, you know. Both had been involved with narcotics and alcohol on the night of the shooting. On September 14, 2009, the defendant appeared before the court to plead guilty to the crime of manslaughter. The trial court administered the guilty plea during the defendant affirmative indicative that she understood her rights, she acknowledged her rights, and would be forfeited if she pled guilty. And did not have any questions regarding her guilty plea. So the defendant, okay, she had 4 children, now live with a great grandmother. So the defendant stated that James Coward and Justin Wright brought some narcotics and had already been on the powder, smoked a stick of wet the night before the shooting. The judge had James Coward take the stand. Coward, isn't that the last name, huh? Coward. Is that how it's pronounced? Testified that Wright, who was the victim's boyfriend, began to egg up a fight by pushing one woman against the other. According to Coward, the defendant confronted the victim. The defendant was armed with a stick, later identified as a pool cue, and the victim was struck attempting to leave. An argument ensued, and the defendant shattered the pool cue against the truck. The victim grabbed half of the shattered cue. The defendant then retrieved a gun from a bystander, Robert Gicks. So she didn't have it on her. She took it from the bystander and shot the 20-year-old victim, who died in the hospital shortly after. After various delays, the defendant was sentenced on September 1st, 2010. The record suggests there were multiple hearings held before the final sentencing. Defendant presented evidence of spiritual improvement and narcotic rehabilitation while incarcerated. The court noted that the defendant had no prior convictions and was a mother of 4 children. That's incredible. She had no prior convictions, yet we heard about all of those incidences. Remember, Ms. Jackson brought up at the beginning, but I guess they never actually ran through the court. The court also observed that the victims, Ms. Williams, had children. After weighing the aggravating factors and mitigating factors, the sentence her to 28 years imprisonment and hard labor. When sentencing the defendant, the court explained that they did not want to depreciate the seriousness of the offense by giving the defendant a minor sentence. Defense counsel reminded the court that during a previous hearing, the court had implied the defendant would receive a sentence of 25 years. So she took a plea deal and still got 28 years, which, she could have gotten life. So that's why they're saying that but they're saying, well, it should have been 25 years. And, she was denied. I think what the parole board did was the right thing. She could use more help, clearly. So, and if you're curious, the man who gave her the gun, who instigated this whole fight, he was 33 years old. He was sentenced August 2008 to 15 years in prison. So I wonder if we'll see him up for parole at some time. Isn't that interesting? What did you think? I like going back to these old hearings now. I really miss the old team, Ms. Jackson, Mr. Roche, Mr. Mirabella. Thank you, Richard, for the information. I think we'll see her sometime soon, and when we do, we'll pull it up for you. It's in the playlist called The Return Of. Check out that playlist if you haven't already, if you want to see where those come back, either because of revocation or because of a second or third hearing. And with that, I'll let you go.